and welcome to In Your Neighborhood, a program that does just that. It goes to neighborhoods throughout the city of Quincy and helps you to keep up on, I suppose, current events. And today we are visiting, as we have in the past, Ward 2. So Councillor Richard Ash has joined me. Councillor, welcome back to the studio, because the last episode we actually did at Faxon Park.
We did.
In your ward on location.
Yes, we toured the pickleball courts and the new pavilion and all of the enhanced amenities up there. And this is, we'll have a nice ending to recap the last In Your Neighborhood Ward 2 episode of 2025. And,
right.
But I guess to get right into it, the pickleball courts seem to be getting quite a lot of traction, and their residents will notice some, added benches and some trees and greenery. And it's my understanding that the Parks Department is far from done up there. So I can only imagine it'll look even better and hopefully be more beneficial to the residents.
And that's a beautiful vista. If you're up there playing pickleball, you look out over the city of Boston, really, or at least the islands.
Yeah, no, it's a nice site. It's a good sight line, nice graphic, and it certainly. I guess I don't play. I should say yet, because it seems like everybody picks up a racket at some point.
Well, I think you owe me a game. Frisbee golf before you get to pickleball, right? Yeah. Frisbee golf before pickleball, and we'll definitely have to do that this spring.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Let's talk about, while we're talking about Faxon Park, let's talk about a recent neighborhood meeting.
Sure. In August, actually. This would have been right after you and I met, so maybe not as recent in time. It's probably the farthest in time since from now, given the last time that we sat down. But I hosted a safety community meeting at Faxon Park, where you and I met under that pavilion with Quincy Police, Quincy Fire, the Traffic Department, and also the Parks Department. And really, it was very well attended. Actually, I think we probably had 50 or so people. It was a Thursday night. Councilor DeBona joined me, and we went over, with the added traffic and the added amenities like pickleball, what is the neighborhood experiencing, what issues are they encountering, and how can the departments help. So, namely, was traffic, speeding. There have already been some added signage put in from the traffic department. And we're going to continue to work on the lighting, and we went over the amenities and any additional things that they need to be the best, the best assets for the city, like the pavilion, but then also the speeding in and out of the park. And the real suggestion there was to try to put down some temporary speed bumps and see if that works.
Okay.
The city policy is to not. The public roads will not have speed bumps in the city. There are some private roads that residents have all pitched in and put down the speed bumps, and I know that because residents in my neighborhood or in my ward that have speeding issues all completely. I understand and I see the issue. They point to a few streets that have speed bumps that residents put down. So I have chased that policy up as far as I can. However, given that the road in Faxon Park is really part of the park, we've discussed some kind of an exception to that to mitigate the speed going in and out. It's a one-way road. People are often in a rush to get to games or to get their kids up there for practice or whatever it may be, but also you have people walking their dogs. And
there's kids. Trails. There's two trails that actually go through. I think the Red Trail specifically cuts through that road.
Yep. And so it's nice that people are in such a rush to enjoy the park. However, we have kids and people walking their dogs and enjoying the trails, like as you said. So I think the main suggestion coming out of that meeting was for some speed bumps going into the actual park. So hopefully we'll be able to see those put in the spring for the busy season next year.
Let's not venture too far from Faxon Park and talk about the work that's being done, utility work that's being done on Franklin Street.
Yes, this is a timely discussion because I actually just became aware of some added and some additional issues over the weekend. So there are it's twofold, really. We have Riley Brothers, who has the city contracts to reclaim and repave the roads, and the residents, those roads, Franklin, Hillsborough, Nickel, and then we also have earlier in the season, I became aware of the smell of gas on Franklin Street, right by Almquist, and after chasing that down with DPW Commissioner Grazioso and Superintendent Prendeville, and also with National Grid, it was labeled a grade 1 leak, which the grade 1 leaks are not usually readily, they're not usually fixed right away. And I am going to apologize if my verbiage is incorrect on it. I'm certainly learning a lot. But it was my understanding that it was on National Grid's radar and then would eventually be tended to. But the smell became increasingly, the smell increased. Residents were very nervous. With the commissioner's help and some pressure on the utility company, residents also now can't help but see and notice the utility work being done. So it's twofold. There's the contractor paving the roads, and then there's the utility work. And I know that it's a lot. I promise it will be worth it in the end, but I know they've been working into the night, and namely over the weekend. There was another leak discovered under the water main outside at the base of Viden Road. National Grid was knocking on doors at late into the night on Saturday with their detector. They did find that leak. It is being repaired. It should be repaired this week. They will continue on to replace the gas main on Franklin Street.
So what kind of timeline are we looking at for completion?
They'll be working into the spring. I don't have a specific timeline for the road reclaiming or for the utility work, but as soon as I have anything definitive, residents will know. Hopefully everybody will find some solace in the fact that both the utility company and the contractor will be off the road this Friday for 2 weeks to alleviate some of the parking issues, and people can enjoy their holidays. I know that having commercial and construction vehicles on side roads is not ideal. I am discussing with the contractor and DPW if we can move those vehicles, particularly maybe, I don't know if there's some agreement we can chase down with the church or somewhere else, but I know having those vehicles everywhere is a pain, and the detours too. We're gonna move some of the detours around so that different streets aren't getting hit seemingly all the time, and it will be worth it in the end. But I did just send a substantive update out to those area residents as well that they'll be getting this week.
A little pain before the gain,
yes.
I guess, right? Let's talk about the Fore River Clubhouse.
Sure.
There is work ongoing inside.
There is work ongoing inside, as we've discussed. The roof is done. The next step is asbestos abatement, and then we will be replacing the HVAC system. The work is ongoing, and it will continue, and it is one of my main priorities and projects. The Point has Fore River, and as we just discussed, Penns Hill has Faxon Park, both huge city assets. And then also, I just met with Commissioner Murphy about a couple of exciting Ward 2 projects, and we'll be discussing the potential for a ropes course at the field at Mount Street Beach. So aiming a March with the contractor, aiming to have a March community meeting. It's my understanding the proposal was pitched 15 or 20 years ago, and the neighborhood was generally receptive. And then I'm not sure what the breakdown was, but they would like to bring it back, and they keep coming back to Fore River as the best location for it.
I was going to say there's no other ropes course in the city, correct?
No.
So this could be a first.
This will be a first. The closest one that I know of is the Sheriff's, and I believe that's in Braintree.
I was thinking that too.
But you know, there's a lot to discuss. It's my understanding it would be, you know, great for summer programming, for Quincy Rec, for after school, but certainly I don't want to put the cart before the horse, and everybody will know I'm aiming for. I believe it's a Saturday in March to do a big community meeting and make sure if we're going to go down that road that everything is as best it can be for our residents.
And we should talk about in your ward as well, at the beach as well, is the mat
Yep.
that is laid down on the sand. I was actually just...
Well, it's pulled up now. It's because it's
Oh,
because
that's
it's
right,
the winter,
because
because
the
it is
winter, right.
it is temporary. So we'll go down. The
Good
goal
point.
would have it down for half the year, but
Well, it's funny. I was hiking Miles Standish over the weekend, just this past weekend,
Yep.
and Faring Pond in
Okay.
Miles Standish has a mat, and that was still up. So I guess that should probably be taken down too. But that reminded me that, well, Quincy has one as well.
yes, yep. And I think it was a hit. You know, over the summer, I think. You know, maybe a hit isn't the right adjective to describe an ADA accessible amenity for a
It was an
municipality.
opportunity.
However, I believe it was utilized heavily, and that is the goal. I think when I see the Mountain Street Beach area, I see seniors, residents with disabilities, families with strollers. It seemed like a no-brainer. And really, I mean, Margaret Milne contributed the Beaches and Coastal Commission funds. She gave those over to the city. Commissioner Murphy thought that was the perfect idea. She actually pitched it years ago, which I didn't realize until we got rolling. So I shouldn't say it was a no-brainer, because it was a great idea that was pitched by Margaret. Of course, Margaret's late husband was Leo Kelly.
Of course.
Leo served on the Beaches Commission with my grandmother, so it all came to fruition in a nice way.
In Quincy Point, staying in Quincy Point, charging stations, electric vehicle charging stations.
Yes, Margaret LaForest, who works in the mayor's office as the director of sustainability and coastal resiliency, she has pursued a grant from the state for EV charging stations with the goal of having a couple in each ward. I co-hosted a meeting with her. I believe it was in September. The ideal area would be under the impasse at 1000 Southern Artery. So Southern Artery and Southern Artery and South Street, I'm sorry, would be, I think, the area that would be targeted. And there'll be more to come on that as well. That was a preliminary meeting, but also interesting. I learned a lot, and you know, if we could get ahead of the curve on the EV charging stations and implement them actually into the neighborhoods. I know on my street, on Silver Street, there's at least one car that I know charges in the street, because they don't have maybe the space in the driveway or whatever it is. But
Of course, I don't think I'm close to buying an electric vehicle. They're rather pricey. And then the concern too is that you're out there, and unlike gas, you've got to hook up to a charging station, and they're not all that plentiful.
no, and I think this could be the beginning of our answer to that. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure other municipalities have done the same, but I think that we're on the front end still in the beginning. And certainly, you know, Margaret has done a great job at exploring that grant program and those amenities.
Let's look at 35 Main Street.
Yes, so the residential proposals that I've also had meetings on, one of them being 35 Main Street. This is the third iteration of residential proposal to convert. This time around, the owner is hoping to attach a two-family home to the existing home. The multiple proposals prior, the same issue, I think, remains, and that is the ledge. It's a property that sits on a lot of ledge. Neighborhood over there showed up to the meeting. I thank them for that. It makes it a lot easier for me to do my job when they come to the community meetings and voice their concerns. They live there, I don't. So they have to pretend. I guess I'll say the word deal. They have to deal with with this construction and with the property. So we probably had about a dozen people show up to that meeting, and the result of that was the owner agreeing to come back and show us something different, potentially a little smaller with more parking on the property, and really try to alleviate some of these side streets with cars on both sides of the roads, and just very, very congested on some of my side streets in the point. So Main Street will be repaved in the spring, which is great. It certainly needs it. But then, making sure that the proposal for that property is right for the neighborhood.
As you had heightened the development or residential development, what other properties in your ward can you give us an update on?
So 506 South Street is under construction right now. That's 18 units and 33 parking spaces. It is the one-way stretch of South Street behind the Islamic Center. I have to be specific because South Street has there's south from Scammell to Southern Artery, then there's south from Southern Artery to Des Moines, then there's south from Chubbuck to East Howard. So
right.
This is the one-way stretch if you're looking at the front door of the Islamic Center to the right. Actually, it was Thomas Crane's house, which I didn't realize until we began this endeavor. So
interesting.
Yes, very interesting. So the proposal's 18 units, 33 spaces. Construction has commenced on that. It's maybe, let's see, 74 Elm Street. We will continue to discuss the renovation for Dennis Sweeney's funeral home after the new year. And tomorrow night at the planning board is currently scheduled for South Street, which is the parking lot across the street from the funeral home. However, I believe that is going to be moved and continuously in discussions with City Hall and with the developer on those parcels, and how to maintain them as best I can for that neighborhood. So sorry, I don't know.
No, I was going to just staying with that area. So you have the funeral home, what used to be the funeral home. You have the parking lot, and then behind that lot there are some residential buildings, narrow
Yes.
buildings.
There's four standalones.
Yeah, kind of a unique design.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think if I believe that they're definitely unique. They're nice new construction. They're big. I would think if you like that type of property, that would be the one fun for you. I guess unique is the only way to put it. But
Modern.
Certainly, it must be nice to be able to look at the park and.
There's always a pickup game going on at that park. You mentioned the park. It does seem to be utilized quite a bit.
Yes, actually, and we'll be exploring more amenities for Flynn Playground is the name of that park, and we'll be exploring some more amenities with that. We just took care of some stumps. Actually, just this morning, Department of Natural Resources was grinding some stumps along the fence at Flynn Playground, and certainly looking to enhance anywhere that we can. But just so, I guess to put a cap on that, 4 South Street is the other proposal that I have over there. And that will likely be continued from tomorrow's planning board meeting. I'm waiting on final confirmation of that. So, of course, I have the residents' email addresses that are interested and have come to those community meetings, and they'll be notified later today.
Let's talk about flooding, recent concerns, and I think it's associated with the town brook.
Yes, there's a new grade that is going in at the Bigelow area to alleviate some of the flooding over there, which, timely in a way that these proposals for those parcels were coming in at the right around July, where there were all the flooding happening, and so the town brook behind the funeral home, behind the old Chamber of Commerce, that was overflowing into the road.
I've seen it pretty high.
And that's one of the points and one of the reasons why I'm taking these parcels and these properties very slow, with respect to any development, because you are close to a lot of conservation issues. There's a lot of big trees over there, and the residents over there. It shouldn't be a surprise that my goal is to protect as much of what they know as their neighborhood as I possibly can.
The dispensary.
Yes.
That has opened since our last show.
Yes, they opened I believe the soft opening was in September, and then they did a ribbon cutting in October. Actually, the ribbon cutting I think was in November, but they seem like a great group of folks. Julia is the owner's name. She seems great. I know I saw her at the Kilroy Square Market, trying to get involved and networked in the city, and that's always a good sign. Dave O'Keefe's one of the principals. He's in communication regularly with neighborhood issues and how they can help. And I know the issues people think of when a business, when a dispensary or a cannabis retailer is coming into the neighborhood. I think based on the last few months, they know those issues, and they are well equipped with security and community perspective. So good.
Last night or the night before, was it? No, it was last night. The city council met to discuss setting the tax rate.
Yes.
Obviously, that's not unique to your ward, but obviously important to folks who live in Ward 2.
It is a complex, confusing issue, and that is why I try to take my time and work through it and make sure I understand exactly where the numbers come from. And actually, I just saw a comment on social media. The increase in the tax bill is expected to be $552 per the average increase for the single family home in Quincy. That comes out to about $45 a month. It's a 7.58% increase. For perspective purposes, the average increase across the state is 8% for fiscal year 26. I know you may have seen Boston's increase is 13%. And that increase is a combination of two things. And this is, one of those questions that I almost felt, you almost don't want to ask it because you feel like you should know it. But then I said, you know what, I have to ask these questions because if I have these questions, I know people at home do. And I just saw a couple folks on social media, confused about the same thing. So that combination that increase is a combination of two things. It is a combination of increasing the actual tax rate. So our tax rate is increasing from $11.53 per $1,000 of assessed value to $11.78 per $1,000 of assessed value. So, my home is assessed at $520,000. So that's, if you take that number, you divide it by 1,000, it's 520. If you multiply that by 1153, that's what I pay in property taxes now. If you multiply that by 1178, that would be what I pay in property taxes next year, which is a 2.1% increase on the actual rate. However, that other 5.5% increase for coming up with the tax bill increase at 7.6% or $552 a month is taking into consideration also the increase in the assessed value of my property. So my property that is assessed at $520,000 will see an increase next year as well. That increase in assessed value, as well as the increase in the actual tax rate, is what produces that $552 increase per year on average for the city.
You will carry on into 2026.
Yes.
Last night, councilors that weren't reelected or chose not to run that did speak about caring for the city and serving the city and their love for the city.
To respond to what you just said, it's pretty awesome that so many people care about the city so much, if you really think about it. I mean, there are some municipalities that don't see turnover in their select boards or the city councils, and they don't have people running races. And to have as many of us care as much about this city as we do is pretty admirable. So.
And on that note, I guess we will end this program and then look forward to an update in a couple of months.
Yes, and one more thing, I just want to thank you for your coverage of our tree lighting. So
thank
folks
you.
can watch the tree light, the eighth annual Quincy Point tree lighting is on QATV, which is also pretty cool because I don't think we've had a camera crew there before. So.
And I think we will end this program with a little taste of that then.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and Happy Holidays, everyone.
And thank you for watching. Please continue to support Quincy Access Television for more programming just like this.
10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Merry Christmas!